Mortal Kombat!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. It's episode 101. We're talking Mortal Kombat, the movie, the new one. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Get over here, it's Prague.
And this is DeLorean Wolfgang. I'm not going to do a fun intro because Prague decided to do one.
Switched it up this week. I had to do it. It was in the trailer and in the movie.
Surprisingly, little fun fact about that was the only English line he said in that whole movie.
Fun fact.
Everything else he said was in Japanese. That's Scorpion for all y'all at home. Maybe I should save some of this trivia for in the episode. How are you guys?
Good. This is definitely a trip down memory lane for me, I think, based on, growing up with the video game as well as the old movie, and now we have this new one. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh no, not a yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it. We'll get into the review.
Yeah. Okay. Should we just start off the top with some spoiler freeze?
We can, or we can talk about where, do you remember the first time you actually ever played this game? I know I'm a little bit older than you guys, maybe 30 years older than you guys, but do you actually remember playing this game as a kid, or were you an adult?
Well, so I played it as a kid, and I remember being super hyped about the game because it went through the whole... It was actually the game that gave us the ratings for video games now. Like, it went to court because it was so violent. Wait, was it this game or was it... No, it had to have been this game. At first I was thinking maybe it was Grand Theft Auto, but no, it was Mortal Kombat for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I was really big into fighting games because I loved Street Fighter. And I mean, come on, how could you top Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme, the movie? So good.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of bad movies on... Okay.
But no, so and I still love Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter is one of the greatest games ever made. And then whenever Mortal Kombat came out, it was like a more realistic version with more blood and then more violence, and then you can knock people's heads off and you can rip people's hearts out and you can destroy their spines. It was bonkers. And honestly, dude, I played it the latest game. I think I played number 11. Just recently, and my dad was visiting whenever Adeline was first born. My dad walked into the living room while I was playing it. Let's just say his jaw dropped on the ground and he was like, "What the hell are you playing right now?" After I just smashed someone's head in with my hands. So,
I played this as a kid. Don't you remember? Come on.
Yeah, don't you remember, Dad? I used to play this all the time.
Yeah, it was definitely a departure. I remember, as a kid, I loved Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2, I played at the 7-Eleven that was across the street from my school. I think one summer, every day before camp, I went in there and I played for a full hour. And I would get there and spend as many quarters as I could. I always played as Blanca. It was fun. It was cartoony. Pretty easy, I think. And it was just easy. I'm not good at those kind of games. And Blanca was easy. You could just smash a bunch of buttons and you can electrocute people.
Yeah.
But then Mortal Kombat came out and it was radically different because, as you said, it was realistic. And not only was it realistic, but they used actual pictures and video in it. So these were real actors that they used, that they sculpted and molded in 3D to put on screen. And it was extremely graphic. And when it got the rating, my parents would not let me rent it at first. So I actually played it, I think, at a friend's house the first time it came out. And then eventually, I think that was in middle school. And when we got into high school, the newer games came out, and then they're okay with it. They're fine. And we would do that every time. Every time friends would come over to the house, that's what we would do. Tournaments of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I mean, I didn't really play it after that, though. I don't think I've played it more than 1 or 2 times since high school.
Wow. So you haven't even touched the new ones.
No. I've seen people play the new ones. I think I saw Mortal Kombat 11 at a buddy's house a few years ago. It looks cool, but I'm not good at those kind of games. And it's kind of like once you've played it enough, it's like there's not much more you can do with it, in my opinion.
Well, and I think that's what I like about these movies is that it's actually fleshing out a story. You're taking these characters that we all grew up with, I'm sorry, and I know that we'll get to your story in a second, Trevor, but like it is,
He's like,
it's it fleshes out who these characters are, and I know that they tried with the newer games to make more of a story out of the games,
gotcha.
but
That's what I've heard, and I haven't seen that. Like as I said, I haven't played them. And then I think I read a review about this film where someone had mentioned that. I'm like, I had no idea that there was even much of a story involved with Mortal Kombat. So I guess that's what this movie potentially was based on, is what I'm hearing.
yeah, but at the
So
same time, I want to say it's from what my knowledge of Mortal Kombat was, I did not feel that it was true to the story of the game, but honestly, I like what they did in the movie. Anyways, Trevor, what's your backstory on Mortal Kombat?
I don't have one. I'm not a big.
that's what I figured.
I'm not a Button Master fan. So, like, if I went to the arcade, I would play Super Retro Arcade games, or I'd play games at home. It's going to be like Mario type of adventure platform games. So, I never got into Button Master, so I never really played Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat until probably like the last couple of years when they came to like mobile devices and stuff. And then they did the Injustice style version, which is Mortal Kombat 11. And so I'm familiar with the characters. I know the whole like, visceral takedowns where they rip out the guy's spine through his skull and whatever. I get that, but the games don't have any nostalgia for me at all.
All right, well, like, this is gonna be an interesting
Wow.
take then to see what you think about the movie,
Yeah,
because you have
exactly.
two people that grew up with it, and you have somebody who didn't, and yeah, I worry that
Well,
about anyone that hasn't played it much before having any interest in this film.
and the crazy thing about the games too is that it feels like there's about 1,000 games. Like, as I remember, every year it was like a new Mortal Kombat was coming out,
Right.
and
Yeah,
then
about
and
every year or two, Christmas. Yeah.
and I think, what was it? Mortal Kombat, the first one came out in like '92, and then the first movie came out in '95, which blew my mind because it was. I mean, I would say that was probably the most at the time the the most side by side comparison to the video game, unlike like a Mario Brothers or the Super Mario Bros.
Right.
And
Right.
whatever else came out. There was really not very many video game movies out there, so to
No,
have
you're right.
Mortal
Because
Kombat,
Super Mario Brothers, the movie, was nothing like the actual video game, whereas Mortal Kombat, the movie that came out, was a lot like the game. It had like the same looking characters, the same feel, the kind of the same sets, whereas like a movie like Mario Brothers, like they clearly had never played the game and didn't know what it was. And they're
well,
like,
and
"Oh,
yeah,
plumbers? Okay."
yeah, if you watched the behind the
What?
scenes of that movie, the directors were like, "Yeah, we never picked up the game once. We
Yeah.
had no idea what we were doing. We just
Right.
took it and went." But that was the cool thing about Mortal Kombat, is the fact that they actually did a little bit of research before making the movie, which, I mean, not saying that the 95 movie was all that great or anything, but it was fun, and it was something that we could all kind of, in 95 we were like kind of clamoring for more, and it was cool
Right.
to see. So I think all of this stuff really led up to what we got in 2021 with the Mortal Kombat that we have now, which really brings the violence of the video game that it is now and puts it into movie form.
There you go.
Because
Yeah,
I don't think that the 95 one was not that violent at
and
all.
I can't remember. Like I know I watched it, but I have no memory of like any scenes, any violence. Like I don't think there was violence at the time. And I think I remember people having a backlash about that because it was just like regular fighting, and there weren't any of the gore, if I
Right.
remember.
Well, and a lot of people as well really enjoy the special moves. Everybody's
Right.
got
That's the
special
whole
moves in
point. You have a
the
finisher.
games.
That's the
Or your
finisher. It's the
yeah,
whole point.
finish
Right.
him. Yeah, you want to have that finisher, and the fact that like people studied to master the finish him moves. I mean, you now want to see them. I want to see that on the big screen. I want to
Of
see
course.
Liu Kang turn into a giant dragon, and I think he does in Annihilation. I think that was the second movie, but it was
Oh,
really,
there's
really
two.
bad. Oh yeah, nobody
That's
talks
right.
about the second one because it's terrible.
Anyways, well, we should probably do maybe a spoiler-free review or do some socials first. What do you want to do?
Let's start with socials. Hey, make sure to go over to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and iTunes. Hey, go over to iTunes or YouTube. That was the last one. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, because we like to reply to your comments if you comment. This is, it's fun. It's fun for us, fun for you. And if you don't mind, head over to iTunes where you can rate and review our podcast because it gets more eyes on us. We really would like to be a little more popular. Hopefully, and I noticed that we've kind of cut down on the downvotes on what is it?
Well done,
YouTube
everybody.
right now. So thank you for your thumbs up on our latest videos. We really do appreciate that. And then make sure to go over to crossthestreamsmedia.com because you could pretty much do literally everything that I just said there. You can find all of our socials there. You can rate and review there as well. And you can find other podcasts that are really fun.
Do it. Do it.
So, and remember, all this is free for you, and it's priceless to us.
Well said.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So I guess it's time for spoiler free. Who wants to begin?
Not it.
I'll go first since I'm the oldest. I can't really compare it to the first movie, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to have it be what it is, and that is a movie based on a video game. And it is just okay. In that fact, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are split on this. I remember hearing a lot of people like either saying like, oh my God, it's everything or it's awful. There's like no real in the middle. I feel like I am in the middle with this. Like I didn't think it was great or the worst thing I've ever seen because I've seen some pretty bad stuff. And I think part of the reason why I liked it more than hated it is because of my nostalgia. So I am kind of wondering what Trevor's take will be because really there wasn't much to this movie at all. So it was like anytime there was like that little moment, I'm like, oh, that's what I remember from the video game. But like, I don't know if that's really makes it a great movie. I think that it was nowhere near as gory as I wished it was. And it wasn't nearly as hokey as I thought it was going to be. So I don't know. It was just okay.
Huh.
I didn't need to see it. Let's put it that way. But if you're a big fan, I guess of the video game series, like I think it's worth checking out at least. If you have HBO. I don't know.
That's interesting. I wish I knew if the new games really did follow a script, like a storyline, rather than just fighting. Because this I feel like it had a story that I know that Mortal Kombat's supposed to have. Not that you could tell if you ever play any of the older games.
Right.
I actually really enjoyed it because it was one of those movies that I felt like I could just turn off and just enjoy what was on the screen. It had just enough gore for me. It had enough comedy for me. It kept me intrigued. There was no parts of it where I was entirely bored. You know, I didn't find myself going towards my phone to, just goof around on my phone while the movie was on. I actually felt like I was paying attention the whole movie. It was a fun movie. I felt it was a movie that I wouldn't pay to go see in a movie theater. It was a movie that was perfect for HBO Max.
Well said. Okay.
Something that I could watch when my wife was already in bed or something like that, because she would not have watched this.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So
all right.
I guess my spoiler free is I liked it. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
right,
I mean, for me, like I said, I don't know Mortal Kombat. I'm aware of like that Scorpion and Sub-Zero exist, and some of the characters I recognize. I couldn't tell you their names if somebody gave me like a quiz or something. And as I'm watching, it takes a while to get going, but the last like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, it made me forget that beginning opening, and my takeaway is that it was surprisingly entertaining. Was it the greatest movie of all time? No. Was I entertained for a good amount of time? Yeah. And that's all I really needed from this type of movie. Because I thought it was going to be absolutely, utterly trash, and it didn't come close to that. And some of the finishing moves and fight scenes were pretty outstanding.
Wow,
Yeah.
I was not expecting that out of you,
That
man.
was nice. I wasn't expecting that either. Yeah, I will say it was entertaining. It could have been absolute garbage. It had every intention to, and it didn't. So that was nice.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I can actually just enjoy it. It was like I said, like you said, you don't want to pay to go to a theater to see this, and I probably wouldn't either. But it's on HBO. It's not bad. It's not a bad, couple hours to waste on a Saturday afternoon or
Well,
something.
and it's not even a couple hours. I think it was only like an hour and 45 or something like that.
perfect.
It wasn't, yeah, it was exactly. And that's how long a movie like this needs to be. Go ahead.
I do think it's worth noting, though, that it did not necessarily rise above like what people were hoping a video game movie to be. Like everyone keeps saying, what's going to be the good or the great video game movie, and it never really happens. It just doesn't. It just keeps not happening. And this movie wasn't either. It was entertaining, but it still wasn't like a great adaptation of a video game.
I get what you're saying. So,
I don't know if we'll ever have that because, like, I know what's trending this week on Twitter is Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in on set for the Uncharted movie, and
I forgot about that happening. Yeah,
it's already terrible casting for both of them in the respective roles. But beyond that, the games themselves could be outstanding movies that are just animated. They don't need to make a live action version, and they're going to struggle to even compare to that, I think, in that film.
Yeah.
So Mortal Kombat, at least it knew not to take itself seriously, but then it kind of fits in to the problem with HBO. Like, so also last week, the big news is that AT&T admitted they made a big mistake in acquiring HBO and Warner Brothers, all their entertainment properties. So they sold it off and Discovery bought it. And they took like a $40 billion loss. Like after 3 years, they're like, we messed up. Yeah. And it makes me kind of, okay, I can see why HBO decided to release all their movies straight on HBO Max. When you look at Wonder Woman 1984, you look at Godzilla vs. King Kong, and now you look at Mortal Kombat, these are not good films. It makes sense they went to HBO Max. Like, these are not going to the theater for, like, somebody at HBO greenlit them at one point, and then somebody finally came and, like, these made
them and went, what?
good money the first weekend because of name recognition, but they're going to bomb hard after people actually watch these films.
Yeah.
And so to Alex's point, this is good for HBO Max. Well, they have a string of these now.
Exactly. It's perfect for that free, or not free, you pay for it monthly, obviously, but it's good for that, like, you stay at home and watch it whenever you want to.
The theater's a big deal. People spend a lot of money to go to the theaters, and hopefully people do start going back to the theaters at some point. And
I need a reason to, though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask on Twitter for everybody. What movie is going to get you to the theater in 2021? Because you can go and look at the list of movies coming out this year, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I went all the way through December. I couldn't pick a movie like, I'm going to go to the theaters to see it. All of these, I was like, I can watch this at home.
Wait, is Dune not coming out this year?
Dune is coming out this year.
That's the only thing, just for the visuals, that I would want to go see. I'm not a big fan of the story of Dune, but I would see it just for the visuals alone. That's about it. I can't think of anything else, though.
I downloaded the book. When does that movie come out? Because maybe I should
August 1st, or it's right in August.
Okay, so
but it's going to release on HBO Max same day too.
See, what's the point?
I know it makes it tough.
It does.
The theaters are going to have a really tough time. Like, of all the businesses from the pandemic, theaters are the ones that the biggest question mark.
For sure, because I prefer to sit in my own couch and not have strangers making noises, getting on their phone and stuff like that. Yes. Dude, I can't stand it.
Kicking seats.
Kicking seat, dude, the entire thing. I'd rather just sit in my own house after the baby goes down, and boom, I get a quiet house where I can watch a movie.
Popcorn farts are the worst smell too.
Oh my gosh!
Regular popcorn.
I'm so sorry to everybody out there.
But popcorn farts.
Yes, I know. It's a plague.
Anyways, so we should probably get back to Mortal Kombat.
But it does fit in with what HBO Max is trying to do, which is copy Netflix and releasing terribly movies that get some kind of interest. Like, Netflix has this down for the past year. The most popular movies on Netflix are their worst things they do.
Yeah, they're just awful. And everyone's like, oh my God, watch it. And you watch it like, what? and then it drops off, and no one talks about
dude.
it. Like week
Tiger
after.
King. Yeah,
Oh,
Tiger King was that right there, where
well, that's a
everybody
show.
was
We're
talking.
talking about movies, but yeah,
No, I
okay. Yeah.
Didn't some just come out with Amy Adams that's super hot and it's
Yeah.
super hot trash?
It just came out. It's called
Yeah.
like Secret Window, A Woman in the Window. Yeah, I have no interest. No
Yeah.
thanks.
Is there any
Anyway, so-
murders in it? Then
I don't.
Then let's get to some Mortal Kombat with a K, baby.
Right? So it's K
But
for all the different
You
killings going on.
spelled it wrong.
At the
Oh,
very start, like, so again, if you've been a fan of Secondary Heroes podcast, we've kind of gone scene by scene through WandaVision and Mandalorian and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But now we're going to just kind of bounce around to highlights, lowlights. So do you guys want to start at lowlights or highlights?
Oh boy.
Let's start at lowlights. Why not?
Sure.
Well, I kind of have like a overview. Well, there's a few things that kind of didn't sit well with me.
Okay.
And that would be Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I don't know why. My entire life I always thought that Sub-Zero was a pseudo good guy. And in this movie, he is the big bad. Not the big bad, but like
It kind of is.
he kind of is.
Yeah.
Like nobody can really defeat him. He's kind of like he's the big bad. It's besides Shang Tsung, who I mean I'm sure will be bigger in next when they come out with number 2, which they should. They kind of
Yeah, they might. I mean, they tease it obviously, but
they tease it at the
it's
end.
enough.
But I that was just one thing that I kind of nitpicked on it was I always thought that Sub-Zero was a good guy, but I liked the story that they went with though. But it makes Scorpion the good guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was hard for me to switch my brain to that.
Do you think they should have been equals instead, like just neutral characters that like fought each other for generations? Because that was
Yeah.
kind of my takeaway. Like I would have rather have had that.
Well,
like
and that's
both
the
of
thing
them
is,
had their reason for wanting to destroy each other.
so in the game, the story is that like each of their clans had been fighting for centuries type of thing. So there's the
Right.
Ice clan and then there's Scorpion's clan and they
Right.
would fight for centuries or whatever. They just kind of, I feel like maybe it was a little rushed and they really dove in hard on Sub-Zero being the bad guy. But anyways, but that's not my biggest flaw with this movie. My biggest flaw is the fact that our main character who we're following and we have to care about the most
Mhm.
isn't even in the roster of any of the video games. You have a plethora of characters, of unique characters, very cool characters from the video games. You have some characters that you could have easily fit into this spot, but for the movie they decided to go with some random MMA fighter. It was like let's just start fresh with someone new rather than following around a character that is already in the universe.
Well, and
I don't
to
know.
your
That was my
point,
biggest.
no, I agree. I think that is the biggest. His character is the biggest issue I had with this movie. Not just that, but also like he wasn't the greatest actor, and his character just in and of itself was boring. Like there was just nothing to him. He was like the most vanilla, boring. I sometimes forgot he was in the movie. I'm like, oh, sorry, that guy that I forgot the name of is still in this movie. Like at one point I thought, oh, they're gonna build him up to be the Scorpion. Like he's gonna take over the mantle.
That's what I thought they were
Never
building.
happened. I'm like, what is going on here?
And they give him some like a totally random like superpower. Like
Right.
he builds a
His
shield.
power is defense. Yeah,
Defense.
he becomes like a turtle or something. That's his power.
Yeah, I guess so. Or he becomes like the Black Panther, where he absorbs power energy.
Yeah, he
like,
did he had a Black Panther vibe.
Okay.
I understand why they did it. They did it because they want to create a new character to then spawn a video game with a new character. I'm from a merchandising and development. It makes sense, but from a movie perspective, where it's made for Mortal Kombat fans. That's why this movie is designed for people who played Mortal Kombat to go and see it. And you're like, who's this guy? Is he going to be this guy? Is he going to be that guy? That's not fun that he's nobody.
He's an
it's not.
absolute nobody. And here's the thing is there's at least, I want to say probably 2 or 3 characters that would have been perfect for them to shoehorn in as that main character who can be, because it didn't make sense to me. And the fact that he had a family that he had to protect from, I don't know. It was
family protection was just to create a parallel with Scorpion, who wasn't able to protect his family. That's the only reason he even had a family to protect, and that way it could activate his special power.
Well, and because he's like a generation of a generation of a generation,
right.
1,000 times, he shares blood with Scorpion.
And my guess, from a screenwriter's perspective, I'm guessing that the reason why they wrote him that way was to give us a character that mirrors ourselves. Like, here's us, discovering this world and, all these powers and storylines. And it didn't work. It just didn't work.
It didn't
like, they
work.
could have done the same thing by just giving him the powers of Scorpion at the end. Like,
they literally could have done this whole movie with Liu Kang. They could have said Liu Kang's our main character. That's what they did with 95, and and it was great. It worked out perfectly. Perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I did not care for this random person being the main character. That didn't sit well with me, and that was probably my biggest downfall of the whole movie.
Before we move on, that's going to be a later topic. I'll hold on to that topic because that's a good one. So grabbing it from.
Are you going to remember that topic, or are you going to be done recording? You're going to be like, I wonder. Just say the topic.
So I wanted to
took your vitamins, so you remember stuff.
I wanted to remember. Oh God. I wanted to have us talk about who our favorite character was in this film. Not necessarily the one we were favorite like growing up, but like in this movie, which one did you like the most?
Oh, this is an easy one.
Okay, for you?
How could anybody say anybody other than Kano?
All right. Well, what about you, Trevor?
Really? I thought Kano was the worst part of the movie.
Oh my God, you're kidding!
The Australian guy was forced so hard to be the comic relief, and just like. One of every maybe 10 lines got a slight smirk on my face.
Yes, that's what it was. It was like
too hard.
Like 10 times it worked. And then you have like some of the worst jokes in all of cinematic history happen. I'm like,
oh, come on.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Great, man. I felt like he stole the screen. He was so good.
Tried to. Anyways, who would be your favorite then, Trevor? Or do you
I
not
don't know if I had a favorite character. Maybe the lightning guy. I don't know their names, dude.
Raiden?
All right. Sure. No, Liu Kang is my favorite. So
Liu Kang?
Oh, yeah.
So the cool thing about Liu Kang is that actor trained the same way that Bruce Lee did. And that's when Liu Kang takes his shirt off in this movie.
Looks just like him.
Oh my God. Dude, the guy has 1%, maybe 1% body fat.
I wrote down, whoa, dude.
There's no fat. That guy is ripped.
It was weird seeing all those like you could see the fabric of the muscle. It was weird.
Yeah, he was rad. I just like the way he was portrayed too. He was very sympathetic too. I really liked it. It was really well done.
Yeah, he was decent. I wouldn't call him the best Liu Kang. I thought Liu Kang from the 95 movie was great. I love that actor from the 95.
Yeah, it was fun. It was more of a fun take, I guess, on the character in that version. Sure.
Now, speaking of him, the running in the air was outstanding.
Oh, the bicycle kick.
Like there it is. Dude, I did the whole point.
I was like, they actually did a video game action like playable sequence.
Well, They throughout the movie, it was kind of cool that I thought it was cool. I've actually heard other people say, "Oh, I didn't like it because it felt forced," but like where they say the lines from the video game.
There's a lot of moments like that where I actually kind of enjoyed it. Like, I want it to be goofy like that. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a Mortal Kombat movie. Be goofy. Do those moves we all want to see on screen. Right.
Like when the guy says, "Test your might." And it's like that's straight out of the game, testing your might. Or someone says finish him.
Yeah, finish him.
The fact that the only English spoken line from Scorpion is "Come here."
Or get over here. Yeah.
Get over here, some here. I think he says come here in like the second game, so maybe that's what it is. But I don't know. I thought that the little winks and nods were fun.
It was fun. I enjoyed them.
I liked in the background. There was a lot of background stuff too. If you're looking out for the background, you can see little hints of other characters and whatnot that didn't show up in this movie, which was cool.
Well, that's like when you're watching it, I'm like, this is just like a level select screen. Like the part where they get to pick and they zoom out and they show the whole level and they get to... I was like, I don't know these levels, but I know exactly that they're referencing levels right now.
So here is my other quips. I have 3 main quips. One was the main character. The second one was those scenes, as awesome as they were to do that, I kind of wish they would have stayed out of frame, like stayed full frame on them the whole time. But they kept zooming in, so the hand-to-hand combat stuff was like really bad. It was like, oh man, I want to see the whole frame. I want to see it like we're playing the video game. I want to see them do that, and they never ever did that. And I'm like,
like the pit scene where they were fighting off over the pit.
Yeah, I'm like, they're gonna fall. They're gonna fall. And they never
gonna fall in the pit.
Like, I want to see the severed heads at the bottom of the pit. Come on, that was the best part of that map.
Seriously, I couldn't believe that was such a wasted opportunity right there. Was they didn't use the pit.
Yeah. So that was my quip. And then my third quip was the inconsistency of the CGI. The CGI in this movie was either really amazing or really god awful. Like some of the worst CG ever. And then some of the best, like some great like visual, like almost like realistic physical effects on screen. Especially with like Sub-Zero when he has like the ice on the gun and chopping off Jax's arms and stuff. Like that stuff was bad.
Ooh,
but then you get like a scene like where they split the girl in half, which like was a cool visual. It was totally CGI, and I was like, it kind of makes it not as gory. You know, it's kind of like, it looks like a cartoon.
Well, and I think that's what kind of helped this movie is the fact that it wasn't realistic too much. Because if you make that like the fatalities and stuff like that realistic,
I disagree. I wanted this to be so overwhelmingly gory that people would be throwing up in their seats in the movie theater.
So I did see in the trivia that this movie originally was rated NC-17, so I'm sure they cut a lot of gore out of this movie.
I guess.
To give it that R rating.
I don't know. So those are my quips. That was my stuff.
I mean, the guy with the 4 arms, he looked like they got extra like things from, like he looked just like Mark Ruffalo. Like they got like cutting room floor from Avengers, and they're like, let's mold this together.
And I was so excited to see him.
What?
I was so excited. I'm like, here he comes, and he like is this CGI abomination, and then he just dies in 2 seconds. I'm like, oh. Okay.
I was kind of surprised that they killed him off that quickly as well, because Goro was kind of the big bad in the first in '95.
Yeah, he's always at the top of the list when you're playing the games,
right?
You know?
Yeah, he's supposed to be one of the big bosses. You have to beat Goro to get to Shang Tsung or to get to Shao Kahn, whatever. But yeah, so it kind of sucks that he did kind of just lose like that.
Anyways, those are my
bummer. Now, Trevor, I want you to look up Goro from the 1995 movie because he's a full puppet.
Yeah.
He's a giant animatronic, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
dude.
neither one. We've not had a good representation yet on film.
Sadly. I almost think we should do a secondary shorts episode where we go back and watch the 95 movie and compare it. It's so much fun. I think that movie's so much fun. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Trevor, was there anything anything else that you didn't like about the movie?
Well, and didn't like, I think just they had stupid slow-mo sequences. There's a sequence where the invisible reptiles are there, and he tosses the knife to the one main blonde chick, and she does like a pirouette spin in the air and just catches the knife. Why did she have to spin to catch the knife to drive into the air? And it was in slow motion. I don't know. I just wrote what?
Why did Falcon have to do all of his flips to catch the
look
frisbee?
Cool on screen,
it's
I guess.
Look cool on screen. I mean, that's
Falcon did it when he was practicing, though. He was just training to do that.
He was training for that one fight.
Because you never know when it might be needed.
But also, when they're going through the desert, it was like an adventure film. It was like, this is like kind of part Jumanji or The Mummy or something. I'm like, why are we in this adventure film? And then they played music like they found something. Did you see that sequence where they're like, they played the music, he does the hand wave, and it's like a pile of dirt. I'm like,
I'm like, what are we looking at?
Am I missing something in the
scene? I did the same thing. I'm like, did they forget to render in the palace? Like, what am I missing here? That was odd.
But that was good.
Yeah, that was probably the most weird part of the movie for me.
I think I might have forgotten that whole
sequence. Funny.
The desert? I don't even remember the desert at all. Jeez.
The desert sequence was Kano was just throwing out those terrible jokes over and over again as they're
my god, it was like a barrage. You couldn't stop. It was like, I don't know who wrote those, but they should be fired and like sent to the Lord. I mean, shout out to the actor. I mean, he did as best as he could with it because he's a funny guy, but he just those lines were just not good.
Yeah.
So I know that we already mentioned like our favorite characters and whatnot, but one thing that I definitely want to touch on is the fact that they put Kung Lao in this movie. I loved Kung Lao as a kid. I thought that character was so cool, and I thought that the character that they put in the movie was spot on. And he was so good. He looked fantastic. The hat flying around, him teleporting and flying up into the hat. Oh my god, yes.
Well done.
Loved Kung Lao being in the movie.
And he had a very good dry sense of humor too, which I enjoyed.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, he had a nice back and forth with Kano for a while.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I mean that hat buzzsaw where he like Prog didn't like the CGI, but that was a good finishing move.
I enjoyed the scene.
That might have been the best finishing move in the movie.
It was.
So that's actually in the video game too. So you could do that one.
I know, but they actually showed it.
Yeah, right. That was great.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if that's like one of the few gory ones they're allowed to get away with. They're like, all right, you can do that one.
That one made me laugh. That's how good that finishing move was. Whenever it's really good gore and just like over the top, that's like, funny stuff. They could have done that for the whole movie of just like an hour and a half of various types of insane finishing moves. I would have been in.
I would have loved that.
You should play the video game then, because that's all the video game is.
Pretty much, it is fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Fire Dragon finish was really good too.
Yeah, I liked it. Burning him alive and everything. It was great.
Well, shoot. Should we just go over our favorite finishing move that we saw?
I don't know.
I think we just kind of did.
I really did like that scene though, where Sub-Zero freezes and breaks Jax's arms off. Like that whole scene was probably my favorite fight scene in the film because it looked the most
problem
realistic.
Is he wouldn't there would be no blood. It would be like he got cut by a lightsaber. He literally froze it. Yeah, he cauterized. The blood would be completely frozen. That was my only part of that sequence. I was like, wait, because I thought about it like 10 minutes later. I'm like, there should have been no blood. It's frozen.
Well, unless he bled out. I don't know. You're probably right. Either way, it looked the visualization of it was good, and also just watching his body tumble and flip, that's what I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see stuff like that happen. I mean, I only got it once, but I really enjoyed that scene. I did. Oh, I did not care though for the opening scene. I know a lot of people seem to really like the whole opening section of this film, but it felt like a fan film that someone made on YouTube and like desaturated the colors and like did it like somewhere like out in the woods in California for cheap.
So that's funny that you say that because whenever I watched that, I literally thought, wow, if the whole movie's going to be like this is going to be an awesome action flick.
I wrote the same thing. I said no problem if they did this for 2 hours.
I didn't think it was bad. I just thought like anyone could have made it. Like it didn't seem like it was anything spectacular to me. That's just me though.
Yeah, I thought it was good combat.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not talking about the combat. I'm talking about the way it was filmed. Like if you actually watch like the actual like cinematography of the scenes, like it kind of felt very static to me.
Gotcha.
I think
Now,
it's so the chain could, the CGI of the chain could like burst into, like, it was almost like 3D effect because it kind of.
Yeah. I get you.
now I will
But
say
no, I understand.
the story behind the what is it, the tattoo or whatever, like being chosen. I kind of I felt like that was a little silly to me.
Yeah.
That was something that didn't I wasn't totally there was no need for it. There was no reason to have this tattoo that like that's your invitation into Mortal Kombat.
I like aspects of it. Like I like the idea of maybe like killing the person and getting it because you're able to slay that person. Did they ever say it was something that they were born with, right? Or was it
No,
something
the
they were
only one
going
that was
Some,
born
yeah,
with
the
is
new guy is born with it.
is the new guy because he's got Scorpion's blood.
Oh,
Everybody
it's-
else got
okay.
theirs from defeating
Combat.
someone else.
Gotcha. So it's not Maybelline. All right. I thought maybe it was Maybelline.
Yeah, could have been born with it.
Okay, so how do they get then? I guess I was confused when I was watching it. I thought everyone in the film was either born with it or killed somebody to get it. So you're saying
They
that some of
did.
these are found creatures.
And probably you're right. I don't. What's the
How do they-
confusion?
Oh, and maybe because I said that nobody was born with it except for the main guy.
Yeah, that means literally nobody on Earth was ever born with this.
Well, keep in mind there's multiple realms. There's
Well, I know. I'm just saying. So Earth never had any champions.
No, nobody of the characters we saw was born with it.
yeah, except for the main character.
Okay.
Just because we only saw like 5 characters.
That's true.
Not like the whole history of time.
I'm
but
just trying
the
to-
ones
trying
they
to figure
introduced
this
to
out.
us.
Well, and that kind of leads into the main story. The main story is that
Because also I think Sub-Zero's assassinated a few that were born with it already.
yeah, so he should be.
Oh, that's true. Because he was
fully
kind of going
tattooed.
around to find them and kill them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But like the full story behind this whole Mortal Kombat is that there's a contest against realms, against Outer Realm and Earth Realm, and Outer Realm has won 9 out of the 10 tournaments, and if it wins 10 out of the 10 tournaments, it can take over Earth Realm and it could take over everything.
Yeah, I thought it was good timing that our story jumps in that they've won 9 already,
Right.
and now the 10th one they enslave Earth, and that's when we get to jump into our story. I like, who made the rule that if you lose 10 in a row, you get enslaved?
Right.
Well, and I think that's it. It must be a part of the video game because in the 1995 movie, it was the same storyline. That
Yes.
Earthrealm had a champion from Earthrealm had to win the tournament, which is funny because this movie we never get a tournament.
No.
There's no tournament at all. So
tournament. Yeah, they all fight outside the combat. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna fight now instead of the tournament." I'm like, "Well, wait."
I didn't see what the rush was by the big bad guy to
I don't either.
proceed the tournament by 2 days. I didn't understand why he couldn't just wait a couple days and just defeat him in tournaments since they were terrible. Like, he comes in like, your fighters suck. Well, then just wait 2 days and defeat them and you enslave Earth. Why would you jump the gun unnecessarily? You've won 9 in a row. You're heavy favorites. Just play the game.
it was so dumb. There was actually no reason for them to continue to try to assassinate all of Earthrealm's champions before the thing, especially after they made a big deal about how Earthrealm's champions are a bunch of flunkies.
Yeah.
So, I will say there was
Outworld sequence is just weird though. Every time they went to Outworld, the camera looks weird, the CGI looks weird, it looks completely out of place in the film. They have that point where he declares himself Sub-Zero, or the other guy does. Like, it was like when stupid Emperor's like, I now crown you Darth Vader. It's like, I get it, he's Sub-Zero. I don't need some stupid actor on screen to officially declare it for me.
Right. Yeah, it was
Some
it
other
was
movie
like
we just watched did that.
maybe
Some weird declaration of.
I don't know. Happens a lot in movies though.
Yeah, it does, because you gotta
okay.
I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. Everybody's got to hold the hands of the audience when
But
they
I
make
agree with
movies.
you on the look too. Like it looked very out of place. I don't know. Like they just took the screen and muted it to like the nth degree. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Sorry. Oh man, I'm
And why
getting.
didn't Sub-Zero finish Scorpion back in 1617? Like the movie is literally about finishing people. Why didn't he? I was like, why didn't he just finish him? He could have finished him right then, and it would have
Maybe he
saved a
thought he
lot of
did. I
work.
don't know. That was weird. That was
Yeah, did he not think that he did? Like
maybe
what?
he was too young and dumb back then. I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't 1,000 years old at that point, so.
What a noob. Maybe he didn't know what his finisher was going to be yet. It's like I'm still thinking about that.
And also, Sub-Zero was a better Night King than Night King was. Just at that one point where he gets the ice like raining down and he just appears in random spots. I was like, this is what Night King should have done.
Dude, when he's in this, when he's in the city streets and he's just lifting,
like, here you
the
go.
snow. Oh, that was so good. That whole
like,
scene was so good.
Bamps into doorways and stuff like a ghost. That was rad. I like Sub-Zero.
Well, that's the thing. Is like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they were a whole side story of the larger story that we got. Yeah. They almost didn't need the Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Raiden. They didn't need all that. Let's follow. I wouldn't have minded follow around Scorpion and Sub-Zero for a good 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, what they could have done even is done like their whole backstory as like a precursor thing to a Mortal Kombat. Like, this is why we have combat or something. I don't know.
Right.
That would have been fun. Would have been really cool to keep it back in that realm, you know. But
they could have even grounded it for a whole movie and then went over the top on a second movie.
Exactly. Like, then we got powers. Oh, look what happened now. Now it's over the top. Yeah, exactly. That would have been kind of fun. Oh, well.
See, we do
this. Their fire at the end was really good. Their fight with the blood daggers and all that fire of hell breath and all that stuff was really good fight sequence.
Yeah.
Again, I like that they stick to the game. They stick to.
It's great.
Yeah, they're not doing anything that the game didn't do. You know, we were raised with these characters. We know what they all can do. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of really good to this movie. I just
It's a lot of fun to this movie. I don't know if there's like a lot of great stuff, but there's a lot of fun little things in this movie. I do wish that Scorpion's face was more of a skull like it is in the video game. Like that was kind of like, it was like half there. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it, and
I thought yes, it went halfway.
Yeah, like halfway. Come on, go full skull.
I will say, I was disappointed with Reptile. I don't like that the movies keep doing the CGI Reptile that made it. I mean, I know that he was that form in, I think it was Mortal Kombat 4 or something like that. He took that character or that form, and that's what they were trying to base it off of. But dude, when he's a green ninja, it's so cool. He just looks so good. And if he could have just ripped off his face and showed the reptile face, that would have been, because that's a move in Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and whatever. Actually, he wasn't in the first one. He was in the second one. Anyways, but Reptile, because Reptile was like my favorite character when I was a kid.
He's a cool looking character for sure. Yeah.
But I did like that they had a lot of secondary characters, like that.
Secondary heroes.
Secondary characters. Wow.
For instance, Cabal. Who would have thought Cabal would ever?
Right. I was all like, "What is he doing here?"
And I like that he had ties with Kano. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, they brought these newer characters from Mortal Kombat. There's so many Mortal Kombat games, it's hard to focus on them all. But Cable was like, I felt like he was kind of a one-off character in like maybe 2 games.
Yeah.
And then you never really got him again. And they brought him in this, and I actually really liked him in this movie.
Yeah. I feel like when you play those games, you cycle through like all those other characters. You go, I've never played them, so I'm not going to. Where's my favorite character? That's what I always do. Where's Liu Kang? Okay. Perfect. Set. Thanks. So
sorry, Trevor. You were gonna say something.
I have no idea.
Okay, you were going
Cool.
to say something, but we apologize for interrupting your train of thought there.
So, do you? We know that they teased a second film. Uh, I guess this is more of a question for Prague.
Mhm.
What direction do you think that they would probably go with the movie for a sequel here?
No, I think they're going to finally try to assemble a team to do actual Mortal Kombat, to do the tournament,
To
is my
act
guess.
the tournament.
Yeah.
That's
they're
probably
gonna go
why they're gonna
Cage.
get
They're gonna
Johnny
go
Cage.
down there, get a few more other, filler characters to come on in, and that's what's gonna happen.
They're gonna full on do the Suicide Squad thing and
Mhm.
bring in a bunch of one-off characters just so they can off them real quick.
If they do, yeah.
I actually think that would be really cool. I would like for them to bring in characters like Shao Kahn, the
Mm.
the big bad. I think he would be great to see on film. He came in the second movie back in the 90s and he was
Okay.
not very menacing in that movie. So I want to see a menacing Shao Kahn. I would love to see a Mataro. Mataro was the half man, half horse with the metal tail with a knife on the end. Dude, I would love to see these characters.
That'd be great to see represented on screen.
Yeah.
Well
I
said.
think he was also in the second one in the 90s and it fell flat again. Maybe I just
Maybe
won't...
we should watch that movie instead. Let's watch the
Oh.
sequel to the '90s movie as the next movie.
No. Yeah, put it right behind the movie that we just watched.
Yeah.
That'll be technically our sequel. Okay. Oh,
Now,
God.
Trevor, would you actually want to watch a sequel to this movie? Or do you think this is like a one and done? You had fun. I'm over it.
I mean, this movie has good parts, and I wanted them to do a tournament idea, and I want a movie that's focused. Like, what if you just did almost like the span of Hunger Games, where it's like, there's the tournament, and that's all that we see. We don't need backstory introduction anymore. We don't need any prequel stuff. We don't need to set up anything else. Just show us Mortal Kombat tournament, and just show us fights and blood and gore and finishing moves for like an hour and a half.
I like it. Honestly, that'd be great. That's kind of what I wanted this movie to be.
Keep the story to a bit of a minimum and not have...
People don't play Mortal Kombat for story, so you don't need to make a Mortal Kombat movie for story.
Exactly.
Well, and I think that's what they keep trying to do with like the newer games. I feel like they're trying to make a story, but nobody cares about the story. They just want the blood and gore and fighting.
And the thing is, you can tell story through action. It's happened in many films. It happened through a lot of Japanese, cinema have done that. Like, you can tell a compelling narrative through fight scenes. It can be done. I think that they should do that.
But I also don't want to feel exhausted either. I don't want there to be so.
No, you can have
action.
moment down moments. Sure, you can have moments where you're sitting ringside or whatever, or backstage or off world or whatever.
I think, when I think of a movie where like I felt exhausted was that Underground 6 with Ryan Reynolds, where it was just nonstop action for the entire. It was on Netflix, and I felt exhausted, and I'm like, I never want to live through that again.
Yeah, it's a pacing thing. Like, if you're going to make an nonstop action movie, you have to pace it correctly, because it's going to be like, oh my gosh, the whole time. It's not conducive to
like that Jason Statham movie. He did that movie where he had to keep going on adrenaline to stay alive.
That's right.
But that one I didn't feel as exhausted. Anyways.
So, yeah. There you go.
And then cut down, like, they said the F word and Mother F, like, just as throwaway lines. Like, again, you could use more gore if you take away the F words, because you have a balancing thing.
Oh, yeah, the balancing thing with
the
rating system. That's right.
Yeah, so we're here. We don't need you to say F this for just no reason as a throwaway line that has no meaning or impact or anything.
Exactly.
Well,
give us the goods.
Now that Kano's dead, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty much the biggest factor for that.
They're like, yeah, we don't know what to give him as a line. Let's just have him say the F word. Writing.
Writing skill. I went to school for how many years for this?
Yeah.
I do like that there's little tidbits, like the fact that Kano is Australian, but he's the leader of a Japanese clan. is very interesting, but the only reason why he's Australian is because of the 95 movie. After that 95 movie, the video games adopted
They
the
updated it?
entire every time that he would speak, he was now Australian, and it was due to that 95 movie. And honestly, it's totally fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Sonja Blade I felt she was great in this movie. I know that we didn't really touch on Sonja Blade too much, but she felt like a damsel in distress in the 95 movie, and it was good that they actually made her like a fully fledged out character here.
She was fine. I didn't hate her character.
I thought she was the worst actress. Or the worst
she was
actor.
not, yeah, she wasn't a good actor.
Oh, wow. Well, the acting in this movie is not the greatest.
But no, she was the absolute worst. And they gave her terrible lines to work with. And then it also, for some reason, for the first fight sequence, she had to fight the only other female. And I was like, do you really have to have both females fight each other? It seems like a 90s
I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. I don't think they care, right? Well, I won't hit a girl. Not gonna
Either way,
decapitate that person.
Fun movie. I would say if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, watch it.
Check it out.
I see if you're not a Mortal Kombat fan like me and you just want like dumb fun for like an hour and a half, there's worse choices. This is fine for like one weekend you have some free time and you want to watch a movie.
I would say there's worse choices in this movie. Yes.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I don't know if that's not really great praise. I don't think you put that on the poster.
That's what you put. Have you got some spare time and you don't want to see one of the worst movies ever?
Check out Mortal Kombat, now streaming on HBO.
HBO Max, for when you're kind of bored, but you want something that's okay.
Right.
Hashtag, there's worse.
There's worse. Watch now on HBO. There's worse. All right, I think that's it. That was a fun little wrap up.
This was fun.
Awesome. To everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and be sure to stay tuned for all of our future episodes. You can go back and listen to our back catalog. We have 101 episodes plus. And so, to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed. We'll talk to you next time.
Finish him, Prog out.
Adios, y'all.